RGL develops and manages commercial litigation, generally large pieces of commercial litigation. Developing it entails legal development and making it financially viable. Making it financially viable usually means aggregating together numerous claimants whose claims are similar enough in law and fact to enable the court to try them essentially as one action.
The basis of the group action claim is that Uber breached the Private Hire Vehicles London Act 1998. Now that sounds very technical, but in essence it's that Uber drivers accepted bookings when they were not licensed to accept bookings. The bookings should have been accepted by the operator, the licensed operator, which was Uber, but it was the drivers that accepted the bookings, and that was a breach of the Act.
I'm Gary White, I'm a licensed London taxi driver, been driving a taxi since 1987. I worked on Dial-A-Cab for 30 years as a driver, and I worked on the Board of Management for 3.5 years. Since I've been driving a taxi in London and Uber entered the London market, I noticed that things changed considerably. I went from a driver that used to work early evening to early hours of the morning to a driver that started coming out in the afternoon to very late early hours of the morning just to try to make the same money to pay the bills.
My name's Brenda Bartlett. I've been cabbing for about 30 years. I'm now retired. It took me 2.5 years to do my knowledge. That was years ago. I thought I knew London, but I didn't.
I'm Dale Forward and I'm a London black taxi driver, and I've been doing that for 8 years now. I passed the knowledge in April 2012 and I started driving my taxi straight away. It's not only learning every street and every point in London, it gives you a good road sense, so we're very safe. And we instinctively know 2 or 3 routes how to get you there.
Most guys out there have got to keep a family. They've got to hang on to their job while they're doing the knowledge. So it takes them about 5 years to do the knowledge now. And it's sad because obviously when they get out, there's no work now.
Since Uber's had its licence, my work has really declined. I'm having to rank up for hours, driving around for hours, and I can't even get about because the traffic is horrendous. It's soul destroying. It's really unfair because I've spent 3 years doing the knowledge. I'm having to work longer hours, double hours basically, to earn what we could have earned before Uber came about.
When drivers were mentioning to me and the word got around on the ranks and at the stations that people are walking out the station, looking at their phone, pressing a button, and a private hire car was turning up, and many a driver used to come into me in my office and say, "Where's the work gone?" And the answer was, "We know where the work's gone. It's gone to Uber using an on-demand app."
You're sitting on a rank and an Uber driver will pick up at the bottom of that rank. Now that's degrading, very degrading.
I'm licensed as a green badge taxi driver. I cover the whole of London, the whole of Greater London and the suburbs. A yellow badge taxi driver will just cover the suburbs. An Uber driver could come from anywhere. So you could hail an Uber driver in London, but he could be based in Birmingham. So there's no boundaries of where they can work.
Customers would come out. An American said to me once, "Well, that's a lot of money. I'm going to get an Uber," and just walked away. Okay, fine. You can't argue. There's nothing you can say about that. And then I've had people in town, they've got out of an Uber cab, running over to my cab and said, like hell, you know, they'd been riding around for an hour and he couldn't find this place. So they jumped in my cab and I took them straight there.
Drivers were very angry. We didn't know how we could combat this because TfL had granted them a licence to operate in London, and TfL are the governing body that control what goes on.
Yeah, they felt outraged, really let down by TfL, really let down that they were just given licences, what we worked hard for, and literally just gave them access to all our work. So it was devastating, yeah.
Well, they were disgusted because they were taking their work away. They pull up on zebra crossings, they pull up on yellow lines, red lines, and if we do that, we get a ticket.
It just wasn't right, and the injustice I felt about this was so great. When the BULit21 came about, I was so pleased to be able to get involved and promote the campaign.
The taxi drivers, they've had a terrible time, but there's no cost or risk for them in participating in this. We're bearing the whole of the cost and the whole of the risk.
This is a type of case which has a settlement value, and that as long as you match the legal team and resources of Uber, and you present a credible legal case, which of course we will, then at some point this case would be capable of commercial negotiation and settlement.
There's no use hiding it, and in fact it should give everybody a great deal of confidence that we do it for money, we're professionals, we're good at it, we've done it before, we've had years and years of experience in doing this type of thing, and we're hard-nosed about it, we're not emotional about it.
The case will be funded by a funder, what's known as a third-party litigation funder. So this is a corporate entity that invests in legal claims. Obviously the funder only backs cases that it thinks will win. And if the case wins, then it gets paid back its funding with an element of profit on top. But the funder will fund the legal costs.
We've spoken to quite a few who are very interested in this particular action because of our track record and what we've done in the past, and that the money we've made for these guys in the past, they sort of are very interested to get involved with it.
The most important factor for the claim now is to what we call build the book of claimants. So drivers must register with RGL, so we gather as many drivers together as possible.
We don't mind if they come in and offer us fair competition. We've always been able to deal with fair competition. It's unfair competition that we're against.
The drivers who are eligible to join the RGL BULit21 group are drivers who drove a black cab in London or the London area between June 2012 and March 2018. A cabbie who retired during that period would be eligible to join and should join. There is no cost to register and there is zero commitment in registering. You will need to commit at some point, but that will be at a much later date.
I feel so strongly about this BULit21 campaign that I'm going to urge nearly every driver I meet to sign up to the campaign. If we don't get the numbers, we cannot proceed with this litigation.
I would definitely be telling my fellow cab drivers to sign up to make this group action successful.
Well, the more people that sign up, the better it will be.
If the case does not succeed, and of course that is an if, but if the case does not succeed, it will cost a driver nothing.
Join up because there's no cost, there's no risk, and it's essentially free money. If you've got two drivers, one joins, one doesn't, their risk is the same, zero, their cost is the same, zero, but this guy has a chance of making some decent money, this guy has no chance.